It's a great pleasure for me to be invited back again. I'm going to calm things down a little bit and talk about something serious. If I can find my glasses. I always forget my glasses. I was in Malaysia giving a speech, and I came up and I started with prime ministers or chief ministers in the audience. And I got about 10 minutes into my speech and realized I didn't have my glasses on. So I reached down in my pocket like this and picked them up and put them on, but I didn't miss a beat. Hopefully I won't do that today. Persistence. Early this year, Greg Reed asked me to write a foreword for his new book called Stickability, and that started me thinking. It's an interesting book of stories about people whose sheer persistence led them to great achievements in life. Some of you are doing that.
Sorry.
As I read Stickability, I was reminded of a boy I knew more than 50 years ago named Scott Shaw. He was my playmate during early adolescence and was perhaps the most obnoxious kid in the world. One day we were checking our tap lines in Morgan City, Louisiana, and we got into a knockdown fight. There was no one around to cheer us on, and no one around to stop the fight. So we fought as boys do until we didn't fight anymore. I was bigger and stronger than Scott, and I kept knocking him down. But every time Scott went down, he got up and he came at me. With a bloody lip, tears flowing from his eyes, and snot dripping from his nose, he kept getting off the ground and coming at me. He took everything I dished out at him, but still he pressed on, coming at me time after time. After he got off the ground for the last time, he was met with my hand, offering him a handshake. Mastered, I said to him, "You win, Scott, you win." He glared at me, wiped snot off on the back of his hand, took my hand and shook it. We remained friends until I moved away a few years later. It was Scott's persistence that bested me. With no hope of victory, he pressed on and he defeated me. His victory is an example of one kind of persistence. There are two kinds of persistence. There's iron will that stems from necessity and self-discipline. And then there's habit force, which stems from desire and thought. The first kind, iron will, is best described by the life of a single working mother of two. Every day she gets her kids up, out of bed, dressed, fed, and drops them off at school. Then she goes to work, where she spends the day worrying that her kids don't get sick because she doesn't have any sick hours and can't afford to miss work. She prays for them at bed at night. When the day ends, she leaves work, rushes to daycare, and picks the kids up. She takes them home, helps them with their homework, and settles their squabbles. She feeds them, she hugs them, she sees to their baths, and she prays with them before putting them into bed. Then she straightens the house, does laundry, lays out clothes for the next day. She prepares lunches, takes a quick shower, and exhausted, she collapses into bed. The next day she does it again, and again, and again. Her persistence stems from an iron will that developed from self-discipline created by necessity and not by a burning desire. This woman presses on because she must. Other women handle these same problems and stresses with ease. For them, persistence is not based on iron will, formed out of necessity. What gives them the ability to press on so easily? Some successful dieters possess an iron will which helps them lose weight. They are able to deny themselves tempting foods. To their great credit, they may struggle, but they still manage to keep to their diet for a while. Others avoid these foods because they have learned not to crave them. They seem to have the ability to keep to their diet with very little effort. Why? Do they have some special ability? Napoleon Hill believed in an infinite intelligence from which we could gain guidance and strength to press on. He wrote, "As you learn to ask for guidance from a source outside of yourself, you will find the answers where you never considered looking, with the talents with which you were gifted at birth." Gifted at birth. So Hill believed that we are created with the ability to achieve our goals. At creation, mankind was given one of the greatest riches of life, free will, the ability to choose. But that gift is useless without being able to act upon those choices and to follow them to success. I believe that free will, by its very nature, means that we have the ability to make it, to do it, and that like Napoleon Hill, I believe that we must have been biologically engineered to achieve success. Success is a choice, it's free will. Orson Swett Martin was a prolific author and philosopher of the 1900s. He thought that the brain had the ability to develop what it needs to press on. He wrote, "Hold any particular thought in your mind persistently until it forms grooves in the brain tissues, and you will permanently change yourself in that direction. You have only to focus your mind on the desire and hold it there tenaciously until you have formed a new mental habit." We now know why this is true. When we form a thought, brain cells called neurons will fire.
Yep.
Holding a thought will create or cause these neurons to recruit other neurons into a network. When you drop that thought, the network dissipates, unravels, until the thought becomes a simple memory. Repetitive thinking, the same thought, however, reinforces that memory to build a stronger network, and one that is able to retain its structure and become persistent. In effect, the brain rewires itself. In 2010, there was an article in the American Journal of Neurology, I'm a doctor, so I'll try to make it too hard for you, which reported that the area of the brain that is responsible for self-discipline had been located. Now, self-discipline is the key to persistence. It is located in the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is right up here. Now, that is the part of the brain that we can program with our thoughts by repetitive thinking. What an incredible discovery. Science finally found the evidence and showed that Hill and Martin were absolutely correct. We are born with the ability for self-discipline, and we can develop it with thought to form a habit force. Habit force helps us to press on to success, and it works. I want to share a story with you about a remarkable young woman named Adele, who works as a secretary in my hospital. She's a single mom. She grew up morbidly obese, 150 pounds in middle school, 200 pounds in high school. Her mother, her father, her sisters, and even her cousins all suffered from the same problem. She tried diet after diet, each worked for a while, and each inevitably failed. Adele watched her family suffer from all the weight-related problems, and when she hit 225 pounds, she had enough. She started praying, and finally wrote down a plan to change everything. More than anything, she wanted to be fit and healthy and pictured herself that way, sort of a yellow polka dot bikini picture. Then she took that image of herself and developed a plan to achieve it by deciding what food she could eat to be healthy and what exercises she could do to be fit. She kept picturing herself as she wanted to be and used that image to help overcome the early temptations as she changed her diet or eating habits. She kept a food diary and matched all foods she might eat against it before she decided to eat anything. With every decision about food, she pictured herself as she wanted to be, and she discovered that her cravings for bad foods began to diminish. Slowly, she began to change. Her mood improved, energy levels increased noticeably, and healthy foods started to taste better. The pounds fell off of her. When her progress stalled, she looked at her plan, she made adjustments, and she pressed on. A beautiful young woman began to appear in the mirror. That was 5 years ago, and she still sees the same girl in the mirror every day. Adele made the lifestyle changes that she needed by turning food choices and exercise into habits that kept her fit, healthy, and yes, trim. Adele rewired her brain, and she did it with thought and repetitive thinking. People who exercise will tell you that it doesn't take long before going to the gym becomes a habit. The same thing is true of going to church. It becomes a habit. While stationed in Hawaii, I began training to run a marathon. Every night, I slept in my running shorts, so all I had to do was put my shoes on and get out the door in the morning. It was hard at first to do that, particularly when I was tired. However, it wasn't long before it became a habit. I just got up and did it. One morning, I was a mile or two into my run. The sun was shining, the sky was blue, the birds were singing. And I looked down, and to my great surprise, that instead of running shorts, I found myself in white jockey underwear. I think I set a world record getting back to my house. My morning run had become such a force of habit that I started each day without having to think about it. I used habit force, and it's habit force is what's going to build your OG business. no doubt now that we are all biologically engineered with the ability to press on to success, all of us. It is a matter of using thought to program our minds to press on. In Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill lists 6 steps that tell you how to program your mind to achieve your goals. Applying these steps can change everything in your life. Repetitive thought takes about 8 weeks to start changing your brain. But it is this change in the brain that separates the 2 types of persistence. You can succeed through an iron will, but it is much more likely that you will succeed if you program your brain to create the habit force to help you press on. Backstage in OG2 2012, I had the pleasure of meeting here Jose Organo. I've learned that when he speaks, I listen a little bit. Anyway, Jose told me that his business didn't really take off until we actually started doing Napoleon Hill's 6 steps to achieve a goal. I would think it might be wise to listen to him. Before concluding, I want to correct something I said last year at OG 212. I said that in Organo Gold, your product may be coffee, but that your business was people. I was wrong. I should have said that in Organo Gold, your business is coffee, but your product is people. My grandfather popularized the saying, what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Believe it and act upon it. And I thank you.